Love it. How's everything going, man? What's
Right.
new? How's the whole COVID thing treating you?
Good. It's been not too bad, just hanging out here in Austin. It's not quite as bad as they make it seem on the news. We don't have like bodies piling up in the street or anything. So case count is high, but fatality rate's not. So it really hasn't been felt too much. But can't really go many places. You can go to restaurants and mostly sit outside, but bars are still closed. But it's nice because there's so much outdoor stuff to do here anyway. That you can go, walk around the lake or go for a run or hang out outside, and we're just having friends over a lot, like doing group dinners and things like that. So it's pretty
Love
chill.
it.
I don't know.
Love
I'm
it.
pretty okay with this life.
Yeah. It's not too bad when you already have a remote company, man.
Yeah, that's huge too. It's like there's no adjustment period. It's just like, oh, we're doing the same thing we were always doing. I don't know if you feel this way. I find it really funny for everyone who's like adjusting to using Zoom for the first time regularly. Like,
yeah, man.
Excited about it, and they're using like funky backgrounds and stuff like that. And
yeah. And I'm over here like, man, we've been using this for so long. This is how we do everything. So
exactly, it's just normal. Yeah.
Are you guys a big video company, or you guys usually just do voice or email and stuff like that?
We're not a big calling company, honestly. When we do calls, we do video, but we do a big team meeting with everyone on Monday, and then everyone has a few one-on-ones, but that's about it. We do very few meetings in general. So like we did a meeting to go over the second mood board, but like that was unusual, honestly.
Right.
We would have a meeting for something. It just made the most sense for like doing design review stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we do too. If it's design related, we'll jump on a call, kind of do that, and then from there it'll just be kind of ad hoc type of thing. But yeah, we're not very big. I think it's pretty much the same schedule. We're like Mondays, we have our little call, get caught up, and then just keep everything moving forward. But yeah, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, my life hasn't changed. She goes to an office and works and all this, and I'm just like, my life has not changed one bit. Get to still walk my dog every day, get to hang out, just
Yep.
I love it. Nice. I love it. Yeah, it's really nice, man. It's such a people say we take it for granted. I really don't take it for granted, man. Like I wake up and I'm like, man, I love what I do. Like I'm happy to be where I'm at, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy too. It's like,
yeah,
I really don't mind this life at all. Like
it might be nice if they were
they're downstairs. They're like
okay.
The funny thing with like, Texas and little fluffy dogs is like you take them on one walk a day for 20 minutes and they're just like done. They're like, all right. That's enough.
Man. I love it. But yeah, man, I just thanks for doing this, man. I think it's great that we get to catch up a little bit. As I told you, man, it was like in September when I mentioned I wanted to kind of get this podcast going and kind of just talk to people like yourself and other agencies and just talk about how people run their processes and how they run their agencies, how they run their companies, what works, what doesn't, and all that. So thanks for following up with this, man, and kind of getting this going. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So do you want to just kind of give people a quick intro on like your company, what you do, and just something quick and easy, just so that we can have a little bit of that in the video and people can kind of understand the full scope of things of what you do? Because it's pretty impressive what you do, my man.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So my name is Nat Eliason. I run an SEO and content marketing agency called Growth Machine. So we predominantly work with consumer SaaS and e-commerce companies to help get them to the top of Google for everything their customers are looking for. And we've had the pleasure of working with Z and Tako on multiple occasions in many different aspects. So excited to be here and jam on Tako Talk.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So, but yeah, I wanted to kind of see, so how's everything with, with like Cup and Leaf? You guys still rolling along? Is everything kind of moving there? I know you guys had bought a space and all that, but how's everything with the COVID thing now?
I mean, we built out all of the, we found a cafe space to build out. We signed that lease February 2019. We worked from February through December doing all of the permitting and building it out and all of that. We opened in January, and then in March we had to shut down for COVID. So
you haven't opened up yet?
No.
Man,
it's like we almost could not have timed it worse in the in the 100-year history of the country, there's almost never been a worse time to have opened a cafe. We got within 2 months of like the worst possible date that you could have opened a restaurant in the last like 100 years. So,
And from what I saw, it was just getting going too, huh?
I know. Yeah. It's a shame because it's like anybody can Google it and you can look at like we had awesome Yelp reviews coming in, awesome Google reviews. Like everybody like really liked it and revenue was like going up really nicely week over week and people were coming in more and letting their friends know about it. But it's just like, it's one thing if I've got a friend here in Austin who runs a wine bar, right? And they can't have people sit in and order wine anymore, but he's got a big like to-go business selling bottles of wine, right? And like wine by the case, and that's like super lucrative. Or coffee places that do a lot of to-go orders, right? Like they can kind of be open and they can do to-go, but for the tea cafe, it's like we were a sit-in predominantly place, right? It was like 80% of the business was coming, sitting in, having a few cups of tea, hanging out, doing your work, like being there for a bit. It was like kind of a community thing too. And, I just don't know when that's coming back, right? Like, I don't know when people are going to go sit inside at cafes anymore. So, possibly never.
Which is kind of crazy to think about, right? Like possibly like one of those things being like maybe never in some places.
Or at least like 2-3 years, right? It's like, the question that, I'll talk about with friends sometimes is like, when would you feel really comfortable going to a crowded bar? Right. Like it blows my mind that some people feel comfortable with that already. Right. But I think that anybody who's like, thinking about it for, a few seconds would be like, not yet. Right. And then it's sort of like when, and then you've got like progressively more difficult versions of that. Right. Like when would you go to a nightclub again? Or like when would you go to a concert again? It's just like, man. And the indoor cafe is not all the way up there, but it's higher than a lot of things because it really does seem like the indoor shared air transmission is the main way this thing gets around. So it's like, not only would I not go sit in a cafe, but like, we don't want to work there, right? Like we don't want to be standing in there for 12 hours a day, like, sharing air with a ton of random people. And we all know how careful they're being. We wouldn't want to like endanger baristas with that. So it's just like, yeah,
exactly. Has that correlated anything to you guys kind of getting more orders online at all?
No, well, and it's hard to say because like tea is a kind of seasonal business. You don't get as many orders in the summer. So it's like our orders are down during the summer, but I don't know if I can say that's because of COVID stuff or just because of the seasonality, right?
Right.
Like, we would predict it even in a non-COVID scenario, but it definitely hasn't led to like more orders. I think that like the things that seem to be doing well right now are like comfort goods and like semi-essentials, and then like like SaaS and like business tools.
Right.
So it's like wine company or like, direct to consumer wine companies or like snack companies, things like that. Like they're doing super well, but like tea is in this like kind of premium consumer good type place where I don't know, we haven't seen a big increase in sales from people being quarantined at home, unfortunately.
Yeah, and how's Cassette dealing with that? I know that was her little baby.
Yeah, good. I mean, we're staying home, focused on other stuff. She's still running all the online things, right? So
cool.
It's like she's focused on that primarily. And then it's also like, we're not in the cafe anymore, so she's got a lot of other time to do other things, and she's like getting her real estate license and being able to do both of those at the same time, which is pretty cool.
Love it, man. Love it. Yeah. It's a good time to do any kind of like, if you have any passion project about studying anything or learning, getting licenses, certifications, couldn't be a better time. It's amazing. Are you guys
learning so much cooking? Like,
I noticed that. I saw that. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I've always loved cooking. And so when my girlfriend came and stayed with me for a while, it was one of those things where like we just kept cooking every single day. We were just like, man, we never thought we would miss going out to eat at this point. So it was really interesting, man. It was really interesting.
I like don't miss going out to eat anymore. I feel like the more you cook, the more you find how many cuisines you can just like replicate yourself at home pretty comfortably. And it's like, I feel like that would be an interesting way to think about cooking in terms of leveling up through different cuisines that you can do well at home. Like I feel no desire to like ever go to a steakhouse because I know that I live in Texas, right? I could just go buy like a AAA cut of meat. I can grill it super well at home, and it's going to be better than I would get in like 99% of steakhouses. But like, I can't make sushi, right? So, or like, I don't have access to that kind of fish, right? Like, I'm not going to fly to Tokyo and go to the fish market and get like the premium sushi that some places
Right.
can get access to, right? So it's like, I would 100% pay to go to a sushi restaurant. But like, we've been learning to do like really, really good homemade pasta, right? Like
Oh, love
getting
it.
super, super clean heirloom wheat and like, pasture raised eggs and like trying to make the best pasta possible. And it's like, okay, we don't like need to go to many Italian restaurants anymore, right? So it's kind of a fun way to think about cooking. Like which cuisines can you like master enough at home so that you can be more selective in where you want to eat out?
Yeah, you're going to go to restaurants later on. You're going to be like, no, this is not good pasta. I could tell you exactly what's in this, what's not in this.
Yep. It's like they didn't use like a thin or a fine enough grain. It's like too chewy or whatever. Like
you're gonna start writing about pastas and all kinds of other shit. I love it.
There we
man.
go. Start a pasta blog.
Yeah. So how's Growth Machine been doing, man? You guys been staying busy? How's this been affecting you guys? Good way, bad way? How's it been going?
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, when everything's really picked up in the beginning of March, it was bad because we had a number of clients who were exposed in one way or another to local businesses. Mm-hmm. So, we had one client who did staffing for restaurants, right? Like their business was, like headhunting and finding really good employees for restaurants, right? So they basically immediately had to cancel their project with us. We had another one who was doing let's see, what were some of the other ones? Oh yeah, we had another one who was doing like micro loans and micro grants for starting local businesses. So you wanted to start a plumbing company or you wanted to start a like roofing company, they would like give you kind of an income share agreement, $50,000 loan, and then as you grow the business you pay it back, right? Like super low like low risk debt for starting local businesses like that, right? Like they immediately had to basically fire everyone and shut down. They were just like a bunch of companies like that. And, we're like getting these emails from them and like, I'm not mad. Like I feel bad for them, right? Like, it's cause like we're friends with these people and they're telling us like, hey, like our business just blew up overnight. Right. That's not, those are not fun emails to get. Yeah. But we lost like 40% of our business in the span of 2 weeks when it started. Shit. Yeah. So it was pretty significant. And, luckily we had gone through a process the month before of like reorganizing some things and making some improvements because we were trying to get a little bit more efficient. But then all of those clients dropped with the COVID stuff and it was kind of like, oh shit, this is like a real problem. So, we lost all that revenue and sort of told the team like, hey, we don't know when this is coming back. We need to get super aggressive with cutting costs in as many places as possible and just like hunker down and ride this out. And we did, and everyone did like an awesome job with it. And there was a solid month and a half where we just didn't get any leads. We got maybe, 10 leads when we would normally get 40 or 50 in a month, right? There was just nobody hiring. And then, you know what I think it was? Is like companies got their PPP money. They got the PPP checks and they said, oh, okay, we can invest in growth again. Let's go. And once that hit, we've just been getting insane inbound and been signing like 2 clients a week. We literally can't hire project managers and people fast enough to like keep up with the client demand. And now we're like booking clients out a month in advance to start projects because we just can't get them going. So it's been kind of like a crazy swing where, we, had that huge drop and we're really freaked out for a while, got super efficient with everything, and then got this big influx. And the really great thing about it is we figured out a lot of our systems so much from that experience that now that we have grown back past where we were before, we're actually quite a bit more profitable than we were last time we were at this size, because now we like understand our like resource allocation way more. So it's actually been a good thing for the business in a weird way. I feel bad saying that obviously because so many people have like lost their jobs from this and other companies have really struggled from it. But, we at least have been able to turn a lot of those lessons into, good things for the company and for everyone involved in it.
Did you feel like once everyone kind of got their PPP loans, they just like really doubled down on the growth? They're like, I got to go all out on the online side of things and just really hit it hard.
Yeah, I really feel that, and I really feel like we haven't had a recession or an economic downturn. We've had a shuffling.
Right,
So all of the money left, Main Street and went to online, right?
right,
So people
right.
stopped going out and buying things in stores. They stopped going to restaurants, whatever, but they started buying tons of e-commerce, and they started, buying more apps and things like that, because we stopped getting any outreach from any company that was exposed to like local businesses or offices or whatnot. But we started getting a lot more e-commerce companies contacting us. And some of the e-commerce companies or consumer finance type companies we were working with, like, wanted to increase their projects, or, in some of their cases, they basically wanted to just give us like free run with the content instead of them being as involved, because they were like, we doubled our business in the last month. We grew more in the last 6 weeks than we grew in the last 12 months. Like, we cannot focus on this right now. Like, just go and like, do your stuff, because we have to like put out 100 fires over here. Or,
Right.
we were getting this outreach, and it's like, yeah, we're converting like twice as many people as we used to off our Facebook ads. And we like want to just capture all this growth now, while every other business is being scared. Like, how do we just start getting aggressive on SEO as well? Like, we've been hearing a lot more of those stories now. So I think that that's been a big part of it too, is we're getting demand from slightly different places now, which is great.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what would you say in terms of the overall process? You said you guys kind of made things a little bit more efficient. Now you're hiring obviously more project managers. Like, what was kind of the key component of your overall process that you say that really helped you guys reach that efficiency level? Because I know for us, for example, we were at a point where it's like you just got all this work, you had no time to focus on getting these processes. It was just like go go go. It's a growth period. Like, we can't focus on anything else. And then once things slow down, you're like, okay, now we got to like move this puzzle the right way and move things around. Like, where do you think your guys' biggest thing was? Was it like different, like, pieces of software? Was it the way you allocated your like people? How did that whole thing work out?
Yeah, it's a good question. We definitely had, a couple, I guess. So the first thing that comes to mind is, when you tell people on the team that like, we need to figure this out,
Right.
people react in different ways. And pretty much everybody on the team reacted super positively, and was like, because we didn't do any layoffs, right? We said like, look, we want to figure this out, and we want to figure out how we need to cut costs basically by this much, right? So like, everybody, like, let's figure it out. And then talk to individual team heads and said, hey, like, we need to figure out how to like reduce spend on these things by like this amount. But we need to try to find ways to do it without, it's like, we don't want to pay our writers less, right? Because like, we
Right.
want good
Right.
writing. So we need to find okay, is there ways that we can like, be able to manage more people, or can we like, cut down on tools, or are there time saving things we can do, whatever. And it's like, everybody was super responsive to that and understood that we were like trying to work together to protect everyone's like jobs and everyone's work. But then there was like one guy on the team who was just like, no.
Oh,
It was
like
like,
just even going down that route, you probably would have never found that out, right? Like, it's one of those things that it came to fruition for whatever reason it did. So that's
yeah.
so tell me about, in terms of kind of like your incoming stuff. Are you guys primarily right now dealing with, kind of direct to consumer brands, or is it more to B2B stuff? Like, where's your sort of market at this point for Growth Machine?
It's really still a mix. It's funny, the areas where we get the most inbound and tend to do the best are in the financial space and in the consumer health and wellness space, which, if you talk to any SEO, will tell you those are the absolute worst areas to do SEO in. So I don't know how we like got this reputation. Well, I kind of know how we got the reputation, and I don't know why we're like particularly good at it. But it just, we do very well there. And I think part of it's that we found like awesome writers, and we have a really good process, and we can be competitive in these tough fields, but we get a lot of interest in there. So still a decent amount of that. I mean, again, like, lots of e-commerce people reaching out. And I think part of that is just because there's such a surge in e-commerce demand now, right? Like, everyone wants to buy things online.
Right.
And it really is, I'm sure you felt this too. It's like, you get into a flywheel effect with an agency, where the more you work with companies in a certain field, the more other companies in that field want to work with you, right?
It's
So
weird. It's like they're almost connected in some way, but they're really not in any way. It's just like this energy that comes about, and it's just like all these people just start coming to you.
yeah. Or they see the logo on the website and they're like, oh,
Right.
I know that company. I want our company to be like that company. I'm gonna reach out to them. Right. It's like, we did a ton of SEO and content for QuickBooks.
Oh,
And
nice.
we had one big client who reached out and they were like, yep, we know you did a lot of the stuff for QuickBooks. Like, we want that. Like, how do we get going? And there's like almost no sales process. They were just
Yeah.
like, we know you did their stuff. Like, we want that. Like, how do we get going? And they were in like a kind of a tangential field from them. So it was perfect because they were like, okay, we know you can write about challenging stuff and we know you can deal with a big, like, corporate client. Like, let's just go. It's like, oh, okay. And I think the same thing for like the e-commerce stuff where it's like people see that we, had worked with like Perfect Keto or Four Sigmatic, or we're working with like other, I'm thinking who's on the website but anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, names that people recognize, then they go like,
Right.
oh, those are huge brands now, right? Like, we want to work with them too. So I think that's the other great thing about like inbound sales in an agency environment is like, just the more work you do, the more inbound you tend to get, just because there can be more and more referrals and more recognition of the companies you've worked with.
Are you still primarily doing all the sales at Growth Machine? Is that still your kind of go to thing, or you have a whole sales?
No, I don't do sales anymore, which is
Oh, that's
super
nice.
exciting. It's been like
Nice.
the biggest life improvement ever. I tried to hire for sales for 8 months, and then I finally got it right in January this year.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, had hired 2 different people last year. Neither of them worked out. And then third time was the charm. The guy we hired in January has just been incredible. He's better at it than I am. He's taken over the entire sales process and just been running with it. And it's like, he's, yeah, like I said, like 2 clients a week. He built out the whole, we used to just do content and link building. Now we have these audit packages as well for clients who can't afford to do like a full thing with us. He basically built out that whole offering in terms of
Wow.
how we like sell it and pitch to clients. And yeah, he's just been crushing it. I mean, it's literally like it's one of those good problems where the biggest like issue in the company right now is that he's like too good at his job and we can't keep up in terms of staffing the projects. So
Oh, shit.
I've joked that I'm just gonna like pay him his commission for 2 weeks to go like sit on a beach somewhere and stop like selling shit.
I love
like,
it.
we need a break, dude.
Yeah, you're too good at what you're doing, man. Like, just chill out for a quick second.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we hired a recruiter because we didn't have time to hire people to fill the needs of the team because we're overworked doing the work that we're getting because of him. But he can't keep doing work unless we hire people to take on the work, but we can't hire people to take on the work because we're doing the work. It's like it created all it's a great problem. It's like, I'd much rather have this problem than the, oh my god, how do we get clients problem.
Right.
Yeah, and then we just want to be careful because we've made the mistake before of like hiring too aggressively and assuming growth will just go on forever, and then it doesn't, right? And then you go like, oh fuck, we just increased our monthly burn by $30,000 and we don't have the clients to cover it anymore.
Exactly.
So
We've
we
been
need to
there.
be careful not to do that, right? That's like not a fun situation to be in either.
No.
But we're figuring it out. I feel like so much of agency growth and work is learning how to tighten that feedback loop and really master the finances of like increasing spend like slightly ahead of growth and then growing beyond your spend and then bringing spend up to growth and then growth like goes back up and then spend catches up versus like spend and then like hope the growth comes up to it and then be like, ah shit, no, we have to like go back down here, and then you like go too far and then you're overworked and you're like, oh no, you shoot over, like getting really good at that tight loop is kind of like the name of the game with building a sustainable agency.
Yeah, that's like what it was for us. Like right when that COVID thing hit, it was just like everyone pulled back on retainers, everyone pulled back on projects where we were halfway through things, designing things, going to the next route, and it was just like put everything on hold. And you're just like, well, we've just been like going, so we were hoping that this would be coming in, and yeah, no, it happens, man. It's crazy. But so how many are you guys hiring directly, or are you guys still using recruiters for all your internal stuff?
We're doing both. So, we have hiring listings on our website,
Right.
but we switched to using recruiters now. And I think part of it is because it is a bit of it is a hirer's market right now, right?
Yeah.
So like if you are hiring for things, you kind of have a lot of the cards right now, but there's just so many candidates out there that if you just sit back and wait for them to come to your listings, like you're gonna have a hard time finding the best people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've been trying to hire SEO project managers for like 6 months. And in those 6 months, we've found like 2 awesome people, right? Which is just like not an acceptable hit rate. So we hired the recruiter because we like needed somebody to actually start hitting people up on LinkedIn, trying to poach them, trying to reach out to them versus like waiting people who are already going on the job boards. So
Yeah.
that's just been like, so far it's been really good for our time because now instead of looking at, I mean, dude, I'm sure you experienced this too. Like you put up a well-paying remote job, like we'll get 300 applications,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We'll just
We get a bunch.
especially for certain roles. Like if we put up an editing job, if we put up like a, associate editor, managing editor, and it's like, oh, it's an editing job that's remote, that pays well, that like has awesome benefits. It's like a startup culture. It's like those jobs don't exist. And we've gotten 1,000 applications for an editing job before.
Oh,
There's just like,
holy shit.
yeah, for one role. It's like there's no way to filter through that. So we like having somebody helping handle the recruitment process, I think has just been like such a great investment, so that we can focus on like doing what we do best and just talk to a few of the people who make it through their filters.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. So what would you say your primary role at the moment is on a day-to-day basis at Growth?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a combination of, we've got a head of marketing now too. So we've got somebody running the marketing. So I'm not doing that. We've got somebody running sales. So I'm not doing that. I've got to, stay on top of the finances, right? And I'm still the person that the head of sales and the head of marketing report to. So I'm still like running sales and marketing, but I'm not actually doing it. I'm sort of like there to give advice and be a resource, and like check in and make sure everything's going well. And then, on the operations side, Nora runs pretty much all of that in terms of like the client work and whatnot. But since we had such crazy growth, I've got like 8 clients right now, which I haven't had for a long time. So
Wow.
I wasn't doing client projects for like a year and a half probably, but just because of what happened with all the COVID stuff, part of like making things more efficient was like me taking on some of the client work, right? And so it's like that's been different because I just haven't done it in so long.
Right. It's like relearning something almost.
It really is. Like other people on the team had to teach me how to do some of the stuff that we do now, which is kind of cool. I was like, oh, I didn't design this system. Like, when did we start doing it this way? But in like a good way. Where I was like, oh, this is cool. This is like much more efficient.
How many writers are you guys at?
In our database or that we work with?
That you work with just like on client projects and different things like that.
Yeah, that we're actively working with is probably like 30. But
oh, nice.
Our whole database has like 5,000 some writers in it now. I mean, wow. I think we've got one of the most robust freelance writer networks of like any company out there. I don't know any other agency or like hiring board or writing company that has as like well organized of a writer database as we have. So
that's the writer finder, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
It's an incredible resource for us because like if we need a really good writer on any topic, there's probably going to be like 5 or 10 in there that we can reach out to and see their samples and see if they're a good fit. And then, if people reach out and they want writers too, it's like we can almost always find somebody for them. I don't remember the last time that somebody gave us a request. We weren't able to find a writer for them within our network.
Wow. That's amazing, man. And how long did that take you to build up?
3 years, probably.
Yeah,
it's been like a nonstop. It's been an ongoing project. I mean, if you look at our career page, we always have a hiring page up for writers because we can always use more people in there. And we'll put out a hiring call on like job boards every 6 or 12 months. So, we'll go on like We Work Remotely or Remote OK or one of those and put up the listing for freelance writers and collect more people's info that way and reach out to them and let them know like, hey, we got your info. We might not have a job for you right now, but we've got it. And, once we have something or once we talk to someone who needs your help, like we'll let you know. And it's just like, it's great because if you're a freelance writer, like you don't normally just like get jobs brought to you.
Right, right,
Right?
right, right.
Like,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
you're like going on Upwork or Freelancer and you're like pitching people to give you a job, right? Like they fill out the info on our database and then one day like some jobs just start showing up. And the freelancers who are like more in our network and have worked on client projects, it's like they might get 5 articles a week or 8 articles a week. I mean, we had one guy who was doing 12 articles a week at one point. He was like, he was a freelance writer who was just a machine. He was incredible at it. He was one of the highest paid people at the company. Because
Wow.
he was just like he could bang out 12 $200 articles a week or $150 articles a week, and like that adds up pretty fast. You
That
make
does
good
add up
money
pretty
doing
fast.
that.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So tell me what tools inside a growth machine, because you got so many things going on. I mean, you guys are from the sales side to all this. Are you guys like, I know you're on Asana, right? Like you guys use
Yeah, we use
Asana for all
Asana
your.
for pretty much all project management, and then Notion for info management.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And you haven't gotten the whole team on Rome research, I'm assuming.
No, I mean multiplayer Rome is not very good yet. So I think once they improve their collaboration tools, I would love to do that someday. But it's I mean Rome is like such a nerdy fringe knowledge management tool. It's not sexy and functional the way Notion is.
Right,
So
right.
and Notion's just so much better for team collaboration than Rome. It's like Rome's collaboration tools are pretty bad right now. So I would love it if we could just have everything in Realm, but it's going to be a couple of years, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So are you guys primarily like kind of Slack communication, email? Is everything go through Asana? Like what's your kind of flow? And I guess my other question is like, obviously with all these leads and everything that you have, are you guys still on like using like HubSpot and all that stuff? Like how does your process currently like work? Because I know we try to automate that thing as much as possible until it gets to a point where we're like, oh, this fits our needs, like we can move forward with this.
Yeah, we do all of our task management in Asana, and any discussion of individual tasks will mostly happen in Asana. We use Zapier really extensively, so tons of our
Yeah.
Asana management is done through Zapier. So, little things like when we design a content plan for a client, we can basically just like hit go on a Zap and it will create their entire editorial calendar for us with
Wow.
like all of the subtasks for each article and assign them to the writers and editors and like create their immediate due dates and like just do all this crazy stuff, which is awesome.
Wow.
So we use that a ton for like general communication. That's all in Slack. We never use email unless it's with like clients. So anything internal is going to be in Slack. Anything external will be with email. And then yeah, like wiki stuff in Notion, other docs in Google Docs, and then sales is all HubSpot and Quiller, which you turned me on to. We love Quiller.
Oh, you're using
So
Quiller, man. I love
yeah,
it.
it's
I
so
love it.
nice,
Dude,
so
that's a
clean.
really sexy piece of software, man. I really
Yeah.
love that thing. It's awesome. Let me ask you really quickly. So with kind of obviously using like Slack and you guys aren't using it, do you guys let a lot of your clients into sort of your Asana wheelhouse or anything like that?
We never well, so they get an Asana board, and we created an Asana board for them where we assign them any article drafts that we need feedback on. That's just a really easy way to manage kind of like the articles that we're working on for them so they can like give feedback on them and like check them off as ready to go. We don't let them in Slack though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, because
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody else, and it was just one of those things. Like it was such a learning curve for a lot of our clients to be, using Asana here, and then with somebody else, they're using Trello, and they're using this. So I'm always curious because I mean, we pretty much at this point we switched over from Asana to Jira and Confluence, kind of that whole Atlassian suite of
Mhm.
products, just because it just works so well together. But yeah, letting people into that whole thing has been just like a headache. So we have to like manage like Google Docs and like different things. And so I'm always kind of curious to see, like, obviously you guys are banging out, you got one guy banging out 12 articles. It's like somebody's got to make sure to stay on top of those emails or something like that. So that's really interesting to hear how you guys do it. So how's everything in terms of like your growth? Like, are you guys constantly now just like hiring more and more people, or is it kind of like, hey, we're at a good place, we can handle more clients, but we don't need to bring on like an extensive amount of like new project managers and different things?
No, definitely need more help, right? So we're actively hiring for another project manager right now. And even when they come on, we'll probably have to start looking for another one and maybe looking for another editor, just because it's like the projects keep coming up. And so those are like the main two that we have to hire for the fastest, are like project managers and editors, because the writers we can scale up and down pretty quickly since we work with so many of them and each one is not doing like a full-time workload.
Right.
But we, for a certain number of projects, we do need a manager for them. And we kind of like, we just, we've been adding clients so quickly, and I think we've gotten a lot better at just what we do. And so clients are staying on for longer. And so we're getting like this double effect in terms of growth, where not only are we signing people at a faster rate than we used to, but we're also retaining people for longer. So it's one thing if you're signing 2 clients a week and the average client lasts 6 months, right? Because then you're going to have 24 clients most of the time, right? Because if you want to stick for 6 months to a week, you'll like stay around 24. But if you're signing 2 clients a week, most clients stick for 8 months. Well, now you're sitting on like 32 clients, right?
Right.
It's like, it's a small tweak, but you've just increased your client management by about 50%, right? Just by adding 2 months to like your average retention. So that's like, that's the thing that we've had to account for too, is not only do we need to hire because of growth, we need to hire because of retention. So, and that gets tricky too, because you want to minimize having to change out the point of contact internally for a client, right? So trying to figure that out too, just to make sure that like people are happy and they're talking to somebody who they know and like, but while also realizing that we just like can't keep having me and Nora managing so many clients. So trying to figure that out.
Yeah. What is your average client like life cycle? Is it about 12 to 18 months? Like what would you say on average your life cycle of a client might be?
It's like 7 to 8 months.
Okay.
Like
okay. Nice. Yeah. And then do you guys have a pretty strict like vetting process at this point, who you take on in terms of like new clients and like delegating that? Or do you turn, I'm assuming you also turn away a lot of people just because they don't meet, some criteria that you guys are trying to obtain, obviously.
Yeah, we turn away a lot of people just for budget, right?
Yeah.
Because we're fairly like top of market. We want to work with like really cool companies. So if a company just like can't afford to do a full project with us, we'll usually suggest they do an audit and then go run with it themselves for a bit and come back, or just come back in like 6 months if they've had more growth. Because it's like we really, we don't want to do small projects because they typically end up being more of a headache. Clients who want to do really small projects are usually more annoying than clients who want to do big projects.
Of course.
So we'll typically just turn those away and focus on like the bigger ones that we're going to be more excited about.
Yeah. And have you guys found your like perfect like little niche of industry? Like you said, like supplements and different things. Is that kind of where you guys are, shine the brightest, or have you found something else that works for you guys that you're like, man, we just knock it out of the park every time this comes around?
Not really. I mean, it's SEO, so you kind of have to be industry agnostic, right? Like if you're just doing SEO for, health and wellness, you're going to end up competing with yourself pretty quickly. So, we tend to just do very well in like broad e-commerce companies. I think e-commerce, and then like information or like advertising companies that can like rapidly monetize the traffic, right? So not really affiliate sites, but like information or niche sites we tend to do very well, assuming they have like a good enough monetization to justify spending that much on SEO. So, but we are pretty industry agnostic. It's like, as long as there is an SEO opportunity in the field, and as long as we can find a good writer to go after it, we can usually work with them. Since the underlying process is basically the same, right? In the same way that like, you don't necessarily need to be a different kind of designer to work in a different industry, right? Like it still is design, right? Like SEO is very similar in that sense, where it's like, you don't have to be a plant niche SEO. It's right. Like if you understand the fundamentals, you can apply them in pretty much any area, as long as you can find somebody authoritative enough to talk about it.
Yeah, and I know you share a lot of this stuff on Twitter, and I'm always very intrigued by some of the data points and stuff that you share. At what point do you think, like after you bring on a client, you see that it's a good fit? At what point do they actually start to they come back and like, Nat, you're kicking ass right now? Like where's that point? Is it like a 3-month span where they start seeing those results, or how does that usually kind of pan out for you guys? Or is it a 6-month period, or where do they usually come back and just start partying with you, basically?
It really depends on where they are when we get started. If they already have a relatively high domain authority, it might be a month, right? Like,
Oh, wow.
we had one client who, and we're still working with them, but when they came in, they had a domain rating of like 73, right? So insanely high, but they had
Right.
no good content on their site. And so we published their first articles, and within a week they were on page 2 of Google, right? Like,
Oh, wow.
it was it was almost immediate. It was really fast, right? Just because they already had that authority. And so we were just piggybacking on that. We had good content. It was like really fast results. But starting a site from scratch might be a year, right? It's going to
Yeah.
take a lot longer. So a lot of it depends on that initial authority and then how much work they're doing to increase that authority with us, right? Like, we've got a post on this called the critical authority threshold, where it's like there's this sort of like arbitrary line in Google's mind where you need a certain amount of age and like backlinks to be considered high profile enough to get the traffic that you could be getting for your content. And if a
Right.
site's not over that, then it might look like they're making no progress, but like they're actually getting closer to the threshold, even if their traffic's not going up. You just have to like keep sticking with it and keep link building and doing everything until they start to see that like surge in traffic come up. So for newer sites, a lot of the work is getting them to that threshold so they can start to get all the traffic they've been building up from publishing for months and months.
Right. Right. And are you guys, when you guys primarily work with people, is it like, one type of one-stop shop where it's like link building, SEO, the whole shebang? Or do people just come to be like, hey, I want you guys just to do kind of the link building side of things? Like, is it kind of like ad hoc type of thing, or where do you guys fall into that?
Yeah, we'll recommend based on what it seems like they need. If they already have great authority and they don't need links, we'll say let's just do content. If they don't have much authority but they want traffic, we'll say, look, we're going to need to do some amount of link building. You're just not going to get it if we just do articles. So we'll look at their site and make a recommendation, and then try to work with their budget to figure out a package that fits. We can be pretty flexible with it now. We used to be much stricter in our packages, but we've improved the system enough where we could do, like, okay, we're going to do 5 to 7 links per month and 6 articles a month, or we're going to do 10 links a month and 20 articles a month, right? Like, we can customize it based on how aggressive they want to be with hitting their goal and what we think they need in terms of like authority versus content.
Yeah. Love it. No, that's really awesome. So what's next in terms of, are you guys going to be building a lot of your own, like, are you building any actual products under like Growth Machine in terms of, anything that you guys see in your space, like helping you out, or, I know, like, for us, for example, like, we're constantly focusing, like, we're trying to shift a little bit more from service over to the product side of things, just because we see so many little, I think there's actually one app, to be honest with you, I'll share it with you right now. I haven't shared this publicly. We're actually building an app right now that's basically pinned tweets. So you can actually have like a whole thing where you can see everyone's pinned tweets based on the categories. So for example, in like marketing, if you have like a really strong like pinned tweet, Nat will show up first, basically.
Oh, interesting.
And so it becomes like this whole, like, almost like this marketing thing. And we're actually about to launch it in the next like couple of weeks. But I feel like pinned tweets is just such a missed opportunity for a lot of people, because like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people put like their main piece of, content up there, and they want that people to see it. But then if somebody doesn't go to your profile, they really never see that.
They're not going to see it. Yeah.
So are you guys doing a lot of like other like product based? Are you like shifting anywhere, or are you just going to strictly stick with like service stuff?
I mean, we're trying to get our product out if Shopify ever approves the damn thing.
God, I just literally, I was just talking to them.
I don't know what's going on with that email. It's so weird.
And I followed up with them this morning too, and I'm just like, hey guys, any update on this? And nobody's gotten back to me yet, so I'll have to go in and see what the hell's going on. But
they're too busy cashing in those fat stock prices.
Are you a Shopify stock owner, Nat?
Dude, I wish.
Man, I bought in when it went down to 300, and so I'm actually
Smart.
Yeah, it was one of those things.
Feeling
I was
good
like,
now.
I didn't buy. I feel like I didn't buy enough, though, to be honest with you, man. Like, I was just like, man, this could have been a nice pretty penny. So.
Well, that was a good lesson that a friend, or something I heard from a friend once, which is like, the problem with investing is that you're never correct. You either always bought too much or too little, or sold too much or too little. It's like, no matter what outcome you get, there's always a way where you can make it feel inadequate in your head, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You never bought the exact right amount at the exact right time.
I know it's like Tesla. I mean, I bought Tesla and I bought like a few shares, and all of a sudden it just like takes this like huge uphill rise. And I'm like, why did I not just dump
Should have bought
everything I
more.
have?
Yep. That's how I feel about Peloton. It's like I bought a bunch at the IPO, and now it's like, man, I should have bought more of it. Right? Like
Oh yeah.
you're never happy.
When did they IPO? Was that recent?
It was like 9 months ago.
Oh, I haven't been. See, I haven't followed. I'm not a Peloton guy. Are you a Peloton guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I don't use it as much right now because I'm doing more running. But
Oh, there.
it's a great device.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. We're working with a company right now. Have you heard of Tempo Fit by any chance?
Tempo Fit? No.
Check it out. They're like one of those like stand-up like mirror type things where you
Oh,
can
cool.
actually get, yeah, so it's another one of those little gadgets. But no, that's awesome, man. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you you know, being on here and sharing a lot of this stuff, man. I obviously truly enjoy working with you, and your team is awesome, and I'm hoping to knock this whole you know, project out the park with you guys, man. I'm really excited.
We're super excited. I can't wait. Can't wait to get the new site out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else that people need to know about Growth Machine? What's coming up, or anything like that that you want to share? Or
No, I mean, you know, check us out, growthmachine.com. We've got a pretty good blog, lots of good articles coming out there now. And yeah, if you hear this and you want to reach out to me or ask any questions, I'm on Twitter just at Nat Eliason. It's NATELIASON, and I'm pretty responsive there.
yeah, and we'll make sure to share that as well on our end, and yeah, we'll make sure it's on YouTube and all that good stuff. But thanks, Nat. Thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it. This was a pleasure chatting, and yeah, let's do this again sometime, man. Let's definitely try to, you know, keep this going. And if you ever need anything from me, just hit me up, man.
Sounds great, dude. Likewise. Maybe if Shopify finally approves the app, we can do a recap after a couple months or something.
Yeah, let's do that. I'd love to see how that goes, because I definitely see a big void in that in the App Store business. So that's
I'm
amazing,
excited.
man. Yeah, awesome, Nat. Well, pleasure, and I'll definitely be in touch with you, my man.
Sounds good, dude. Talk soon.
All right, cheers, man.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.